My room looks a bit different than the last time you saw it. It's cool. This isn't exactly my chill-out zone. My step-Fuhrer makes sure of that.
Life is strange.
Put on some music while I'm
Life is strange. Life, oh life, oh life, oh life. Gabrielle, she was a visionary. My name is Colm Ahern, and I'm here to talk about a video game called Life is Strange to a man who is probably far too young to know who Gabrielle is, and that is Mike Stubbsy. Stubbsy, how are ya?
I'm good, thanks, Colm, and you're right, I don't have a clue who Gabrielle is.
Life is strange. I'm just going to probably keep using that. But anyway, yeah, so we're here to talk about a game called Life is Strange. Stubbsy, what is Life is Strange? Well, I suppose, first of all, am I correct in saying it's developed by Don't Nod Entertainment, developer of, I was going to say, popular video game, but that would be, that would be a little bit much. Remember Me, a bit of a cult hit. Am I correct in saying that?
You are indeed correct in saying that. It is the same guys, although different publisher this time. We've got Square Enix publishing it instead of, I believe it was Capcom for Remember Me.
It was indeed. Now, Remember Me had some interesting ideas. The combat system was a bit mental, where you, as far as I can remember, you had to like unlock combos, and they called them presses, and it was a little bit kind of mental that way. But yeah, there was this interesting style kind of section of the game where either after or before missions or something, you could go in and manipulate time to a certain extent by looking at people's memories and, you know, warping them effectively. Does Life is Strange have anything similar in this? Like, what exactly is the concept of Life is Strange?
Well, there is something similar. As in Max, the main protagonist, can rewind time a small amount. But to start from the beginning, it's an episodic series that is based around the story of Max, who returns to her, I believe it's her hometown, but she's definitely lived there before. And she meets up with an old friend and go on magical adventures, etc, etc.
Lovely.
Not quite magical adventures, but you get the gist of it. Okay. And Max has the ability to rewind time, and she discovers this fairly early on in the first episode. So
she has gone back to her hometown without this knowledge of her.
Yeah, like she discovers
it. Gift.
She discovers that she can do it in the first probably 10 minutes of the first episode. And that's like the first time that she's ever had this ability, or she knows that she's had this ability. And basically it allows her to rewind time a certain amount. It's not a particularly long period of time, but it's enough to be able to, if you mess up, you can go back in time and use what you learnt the first time around to correct what you did wrong, effectively.
Kind of Braid-like?
Kind of, yeah. It's like a similar concept. Although I can't really remember that much about Braid. I played it when I was quite young.
An embryo. So, so she's gone back to her hometown just because? Is there any other kind of exposition there? Or do we find that out kind of later on? Or
no, she's gone back to her hometown to go to a school which is renowned for its photography course, which just happens to be in the town that she used to live in. And it's not brilliantly explained, but I think that's the general gist of it, that her family moved away for some reason that I'm not entirely sure of, and then when she was sort of old enough to leave and go to, I think it's effectively like a college or something like that, she chose to go back to her hometown and this school because it's apparently great for photography, which is another key area of the game. And although it's not overly explained, like why she takes all these pictures and things early on, I'm sure there'll be some reasoning behind it further down in the series.
Right, okay. So this is episodic, as you said. We're just kind of talking about the first bit of episode 1. Like, is this a... I mean, is it an adventure game? Is that how you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult especially with the episodic format, not to draw the comparison to Telltale's games.
Yeah.
And it's quite similar in gameplay as well. Like, you're a character and there's different environments that you can walk around and you can interact with different objects in the world. You can, like, if there's a poster on the wall, you can look at it and it might spark a internal monologue or something like that.
Right.
And you can have conversations with characters. Like, I was quite surprised. The first section is set in a school. And I was quite surprised how many people you can actually just talk to randomly in the school as you're walking through it. And there's different things that are going on around you, some of which you can totally ignore, some of which you could, like, you can go up to them and they'll have consequences at some point further down the line, which is quite interesting.
But as you said, you can kind of you streamline what you're doing and not bother with these kind of conversations with ancillary characters.
Totally. Like, if you realise what you've got to do quickly, you can literally just bomb straight through and ignore everything that's around you. But what happens with that is that sometimes, like, there might be a character who's in the opposite direction of where you need to go, but if you end up talking to them, it will trigger some kind of event that could change something further down the line. So kind of like in the Telltale games, you have the X will remember that message. It's kind of similar to that, but you can miss them. So, like, you can totally ignore a character who doing something with them might have an impact on something down the line. You can just totally ignore that and would never know until later when it explains that you missed it.
And the game doesn't signpost that at all, or like it just
for some, like, for story centric options that have to be done, it will make you do them. But for all the side ones that aren't overly important and won't have massive impacts further down the line, you can just totally miss them. It's just like another character stood there, and if you choose to interact with them or not is up to you.
Do you have conversational options like a Telltale game? You know, you can. It's like somebody asks you, what time is the first class? And you can say, fuck off, or 9:20, or is it along those lines? Maybe not as...
yeah, not quite as extreme as telling a, like, 16-year-old to fuck off, but... yeah, there is those options, and there are times... It doesn't seem to be used quite as frequently as in the Telltale stuff. Like, there is more closed cutscenes where the dialogue is, like, more of the dialogue is pre-scripted, you don't choose it, but there is still quite a lot of the conversational options. And it's very similar in the style to the Telltale stuff. Like, you press a button to say the small piece of dialogue that it gives you a clue to. Although from what I experienced, I did think that the descriptions of what you could say, even though there were only like 2 or 3 words, were much clearer than what the Telltale ones were, because I know a lot of people moan at Telltale for putting something and then it's actually totally opposite what the character actually says.
So Life is Strange doesn't suffer from that as much? No,
it didn't seem as bad from what I experienced. Like, even if it was like a 3 or 4 word prompt of what the area the conversation could go into, that was generally the area it went in and the way I expected it to go. So, like, if I picked an option that I thought would console someone if they were sad, it didn't turn around and tell them that they were an idiot for being sad.
So this rewind time kind of gimmick, like, that sounds like the main crux of the gameplay. Like, is it just a case of you make a mistake and then you rewind, or does it play more into the actual story?
It's a bit of both. Like, there are certain sections where if you make a mistake, it's not always necessarily a fail state, but if you do something and you think, I could have done that better, you can rewind and replay it knowing what's going to happen. But another really interesting side of it is, say if me and you are having a conversation and then I accidentally call you a name and you get really angry with me and never want to speak to me again, I can go, perhaps that wasn't a great idea, rewind time, and then when that option comes up again, I won't call you that name because I know your reaction.
Either way, if you call me that name, that'll kind of, will we have a certain relationship then, or if you don't, then we'll get on better. Like, basically, whereas with the Telltale games, I suppose, particularly just picking The Walking Dead, first Like when that first came out, people really thought that every choice is going to... It's similar to kind of a Mass Effect type thing where like every choice is going to play into this large thing where my game will be different to yours, to yours, to yours, to yours. But when really, I mean, it kind of gives the illusion of choice. Like, do you know with this, does this give you the illusion of choice, or are there many different paths that Life is Strange can go down?
This is actually something that I brought up with J-Max, the creative director, I want to say it.
Fucking brilliant link, Mike.
Yeah, in an interview that you can read on www.godisgeek.com.
We don't say www anymore, you're okay. But okay,
but so yeah, I asked him about this, and the short answer is yes, not like whenever you make a big choice or go in a certain direction, it'll come up with a little symbol in the top left hand corner of the screen. Every time you see that, it means that there will be a consequence. How big that consequence is will only be explained further down the line. Like, you could do something really small in the game and it might have an impact on a cutscene 2 minutes down the line, or you could do something in episode 1 that then has a massive effect on something that happens in episode 5, for instance.
Again, that's kind of interesting. Just how the game can take on its own shape. If it is in a 5-episode arc, we'll see, you know, if it actually stays true to that by the end of episode 5. When is it actually out, Stubbsy? Episode 1.
I believe the first episode is out on January 30th, which is the end of this week. And I think that's out on all platforms on that date, although don't quote me on that.
Oh, I shan't. This is off the record. This isn't going on the internet at all. Stubbsy, that sounds delightful. So yeah, our early thoughts on Life is Strange, positive?
Positive so far, although I'm interested to see where they take it from here. I think that's what's going to make or break the series, where it goes.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Stubbsy, for your time. And I just want to clarify that it wasn't Gabrielle, because I know some people are probably up in arms over my earlier statement. It was actually Desiree. You probably don't know who that is either, Stubbsy.
No, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, thought so.
What the? Chloe's stepdad actually installed cameras in the rooms?